Shall we get started? Okay. Right. Jai Janendra, everyone, and welcome to the lecture number 7 in the series that we are, that is hosted by Jain Study Group, Discover Jainism series. My name is Amita Mehta. I'm a teacher in New York City, and I am a lifelong student of Jain philosophy. And I'm here today with a wonderful panel of young people who have many questions about Jainism and its application in today's life, in the current situation and otherwise. And with us is Dr. Bipin Doshi, who is a friend of our Jain Study Circle, and he has been in this Sunday series every lecture, and he is here again with us. He doesn't need any introduction, but I will just try anyway to say a little bit about him. First of all, he's been my guru. So he has taught me his course in Jainology when he came to New York. And I learned to look at Jainism in a completely different perspective. So that was a great learning for me. Dr. Bipin Bhai has been a practicing physician for 45 years, and very his approach has been very holistic in treating, and then he has gone to, I guess this is his first love, is teaching Jainism, and he has been the founder of Jain Chair in University of Mumbai, and he teaches students who are ready to learn about Jainism in a very systematic and sort of an academic way, all kinds, all different ages and in different countries. So he's been to many countries teaching his course, and also he's very actively involved in various social organizations, and he has been giving his services and giving his counseling, his advising, and has been sort of a wonderful member to have on board. So welcome, sir. We are happy to have you. And now I'm going to move on to our wonderful panel today. We have young people from many parts of the world. They are joining us from different parts of the world, and I'm going to move on to the oldest one, and they are going to introduce themselves. So we will move on to the first one, and then we'll keep moving until you have met all of them, and then we will get started. So Ashna Mehta, can you please unmute yourself and go ahead?
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Jai Janendra. I have grown up my whole life in New York City. I lived there until I turned 23, and now I live in Dubai. So I've never lived exactly in India. And I find Jainism very easy to practice. I've been vegetarian my entire life through and through. I, however, find that 2,000 years later, it's very difficult to practice a religion the way it's intended to, with all this modern medicine, everything happening in the world. There's so much that is out of our control. So I wanted to ask about my intention of coming here is to understand in 2020 the list of priorities of everything. So that's
okay. All right. Let's move on to Titiksha.
Jai Janendra. My name is Titiksha, and I'm currently studying in Geneva, but I've been here in Bombay for the past 4 months because of the pandemic. But Jainism has been a huge part of my life, and I've always learned through my elders what Jainism is, how to practice it and all. but I think I don't know it enough. I've never gone in depth with the religion, but I hope that today some of my doubts will be cleared. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's move on to Vidhi.
Hi guys, so I'm Vidhi. I'm born and raised in Mumbai, but I've been in New York for the past 6 years. I recently graduated from NYU. Well, I've learned a lot about Jainism from my nanny. Heard a lot of stories. Gone with her to Derasar, but I don't know as much, and it's getting harder for me to like practice it in New York because I'm here on my own. So I'm honored to be part of this panel, and I'm looking forward to the insightful discussion that we're going to have.
Great. And let's move on to Jalak.
Hi everyone, I'm Zalak and I'm currently pursuing my master's in education and master's in genealogy. But it seems that only studying doesn't solve all my queries about Jainism. So I guess this panel would help me know more about Jainism, and definitely I'm learning under Bipin sir the certificate course, and this has brought me more close to Jainism. So looking forward to get answers to my questions.
All right, great. Let's move on to Aryan.
Hi, I'm Aryan. I go to university in Vancouver, but I'm back in Thailand right now. And my mom's side of the family is Jain, and I don't know. I haven't been learning that much about it for the past 6, 7 years since I left Dubai, and I just want to understand, that side of my family and see, what that religion's about, more into it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's move on to Yukti.
Hi everyone, Jai Jinendra. My name is Yukti Jain. I'm 18 years old. I just
Yukti, can you say it a little bit louder? I think your voice is very faint.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. My name is Yukti Jain. I just completed my high school. My knowledge in Jainism is like beginner level, but I have a lot of curiosity about learning about this ancient religion. And with this panel, I hope to get closer to Jainism.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's move on to now our two younger ones, Jehan.
Hello everyone, I'm Amita Mehta. I lived 12 years in Dubai, and today this is my first year in Mumbai. So I've learned a lot of Jainism from my dadi and my Jainism teacher. So my dad's side has guided us through a lot of Jainism, and we practice Jainism. I've been a vegetarian my whole life, and I just wanted to I wanted some questions to be answered, because right now my dadi isn't with me, and I felt it would be easier with face-to-face contact with Dr. Bipin Bhai.
Okay, great. And Divira, who's our youngest panelist.
Hi, Jai Jinendra. I'm Divira. I'm 12 years old, and I really like Jainism. I have adapted Jainism from my nani and my dadi, and also my mother's really into Jainism. So Jainism is a way we live at our house, and I think it's amazing to actually connect with what they know. And I think Jainism is a wonderful religion, but there are some things that I don't understand between science and Jainism. So it's really amazing to be a part of this and understand.
Great. So now that we met all our panelists, we will get started with our discussion and seeking answers from Dr. Bipin Doshi. Before we get started, I just wanted to kind of put this out. Swadhyay, or doing Swadhyay, is one of the 12 taps that Bhagwan has shown. And we, in Jainism, the Gnanis have said that the Swadhyay is done in 5 different parts. The first one is Vachana, when you are actually studying, either reading or listening from the experts and getting the first knowledge. Then you do the Pruchana, which is what we are going to do today, is questioning what you know and clarifying the doubts that you have. So that's what's going to happen. We will try and see if we can clarify the doubts, or there are some still some things that we need to know more to make sense of what we already know. And then we're going to do, and after that happens Parvartana, which is what we do, is to repeat what you know, to make meaning out of it and kind of understand it much more and make it a little bit more of your own self. Then comes Anupreksha, when you actually start reflecting on it, contemplating on the knowledge that you've gained, and that helps you to really get to know yourself and how that gnan or that knowledge that you have acquired fits with you. And then the last one is Dharmakatha, when you actually know enough about a topic, or you have enough gnan about something that you are then engaging in discussions to get to know more perspectives on the same topic. So if you talk to someone else, they might look at it in a different way than you have been looking at it. And that also helps you to broaden your horizon and kind of get a better vision. So this is what happens actually when you do Swadhyay. And Bhagwan told us, so many years ago that, and it's still applicable and very practical to use. For example, I just want to give one more example of it, and then we'll go straight into the questions. So in Bhagavati Sutra, Guru Gautam and Gandhas have asked 36,000 questions to Bhagwan Mahavir, and he has given all these answers to clarify their doubts. And not only benefited them, but it has actually benefited us after all these years that we get, our questions get answered too. So questioning has been a very big part of learning Jainism and Jain philosophy. So, and that also applicable in our day-to-day life when you are learning even in school, that you keep asking until your doubts are clear or you've got a better hand on the topic that you are learning. So that is what we're going to do today. There are going to be a lot of questions that our panelists have. And then after we've done that, if we have time, we are going to go on to taking some questions from the audience who is live with us. So the first question, of course, the first group of questions that we are going to touch upon is about Jainism and way of life, especially in today's life. And there are so many questions that children have because they've been either, living in a household that's practicing Jainism and they want to make sense of it. So I'm going to ask Aryan if, or actually I'm going to first go to Ashna and then we are going to go to Aryan. So Aryan, be ready after Ashna, okay? So Ashna, go ahead and ask your question. And Bipin Bhai, are you unmuted? Yes, okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure how to phrase it exactly, but I'll try. I've been practicing Jainism through being vegetarian my entire life. Like I've never been tempted to do anything or try any meat or everything, but I don't think that your diet consists of a religion and its spirituality completely. So I was wondering other things that we can do to get closer to a more spiritual state and kind of understanding it on a deeper level rather than just rather than the superficial and kind of habits that we do around it. And I was also wondering if there was a list of priorities of, okay, whether it's vegetarianism or I can't, like, just wearing leather and things like that. Like, what do you think are the list of priorities in everything that we should do for ahimsa? I think that's what we call it.
Okay. First of all, I'm so happy that the young panel is going to take my exam today. First of all, let me appreciate the efforts which Amita Mehta has put, and all the young guys, Asna and Diksha, Vidhi, Zalak, Aryan, Yukti, Zehan, Divira. I really, it will be a wonderful session for us. As Amita Mehta has rightly mentioned, this is a Swadhyay, because though I may be knowing a little bit more than what you people may be knowing, but at the same time, let us understand that I am not Sarvagna. So whatever has been said by Tirthankar Mahavir, or whatever has been perceived by Tirthankar Mahavir, all that cannot be perceived by people like us. But before I start on any subject, let me tell you 2 or 3 things which is very important, because today's generation need to understand this very well. See, we live in a scientific age, an age which is technocrat, or where the technology has advanced so much. Now, all our inventions are related only to those things which we see. That's what we call matter. We do not know anything which is beyond matter, because we are only given those 5 senses which can only understand what is matter, what is being seen, and what is visible. The whole science of Jainism is not only the science of things which are visible, but it's a science of the things which are which are non-visible. The soul is invisible. Dharmastika is invisible. Adharmastika is invisible. Kal and space is also invisible. So the whole science of Jainism is more on the things which are invisible, and which you do not appreciate, because we don't have any experimental tools to understand these invisible things. Now, the second, which is very important point, is there are 3 kind of sciences, or there are 3 kind of things which we have to understand right from our childhood. First, what we call empirical science. As you know, I am a doctor. So the medicine is tested first on the animal, and then on the human being, and then it comes to the market, because it has been checked into a laboratory. What we call we have an empirical proof of saying something very categorically and very authentically. That is what we consider in our philosophical language an empirical science, or empirical knowledge. There is a second knowledge which we usually call experiential knowledge. Now, this knowledge does not come by laboratory methods. This particular learning is through the experience which we have throughout many years. And there are so many things which we do in our life, which is not, nobody says that, okay, this was put into the laboratory. We always say that this is by the experience, this is by the tradition, this is what our grandfather or grandmother has said. I appreciate a lot, because most of you said that you learned your Jainism from Nani or Dadi. So I want to call your parents also. Then why only Nani and Dadi has taught you? Where are the parents? Now see, so this is second, which we call experiential science, or the science which is based on the experience. Now, third thing is very important, which we call extrasensory knowledge. Now see, we learn everything which is by our 5 senses. This particular era is such that we cannot go beyond 5 senses. However, there are incidences where people say that he has got extra sense. So one has to understand the knowledge not only from the laboratory findings, but also from all these 3. Now, as far as let me tell you one very simple thing, and this is where we have gone wrong. All of you should understand that Jainism, the scripture of Jainism, is divided into 4 major parts. What we call is Charananuyoga, Dravyanuyoga, Karananuyoga, and Ganitanuyoga, or Katha Yoga. Now, what has happened? Dravyanuyog gives you the knowledge, and Charananuyog asks you to do that practice. So, see, I am a doctor, or you are a lawyer, or somebody is an engineer, or somebody is a chartered accountant. What do you do first? First, you learn about the things, and then you put it into the practice. Unfortunately, what has happened today, that nobody thinks about Dravyanuyog. You are asking only to start with Charananuyog. Charananuyog means you have to not to eat this, not to eat that, do like this, do chavyar, do tapascharya and all that. Now, what has happened? Because you do not have the knowledge, or probably in-depth knowledge of why we should do this. Now, that knowledge will only come if you learn Dravyanuyoga, where you are supposed to learn 6 types of dravyas. You are supposed to know 9 types of tattvas, and then only you can ask the question. Because till the time you have not understood this, the question will always remain. I cannot start my practice without learning medicine. I just cannot sit in my consulting room and say, okay, come down, because I will have a lot of questions. So most of the questions which we have right now, and where our young generation has not been convinced about a lot of things. See, a lot of our young generation is going to many other people. People, I'm not just criticizing anybody, but people will go to Sadhguru, people will go to Brahma Kumari, people will go to Shri Ravi Shankar, people will go to Osho, and number of them actually. Because logically, our monks have not been able to explain you very clearly that try to learn Dravyanu Sangra first. After you learn Dravyanu Sangra, then only you can go to Charananu or whatever you are supposed to put into the practice. So this is the main important problem that we are facing. I'll tell you very frankly, Jainism is not about the restaurant. Jainism is not about the kitchen. Jainism is much, much, much beyond that. We have made the Jainism in such a way that, okay, today is the Paryushan, today is the Tithi, today is supposed to be a particular day, so don't eat that. I remember once upon a time when I was in USA, a boy like must be of your age, maybe about 15 or 16. He got up and he said that, sir, I have one problem. I said, what is your problem? I said, I never fight with my mom except during Paryushanas, because my mom insists that in Paryushana you are not supposed to do this, you are not supposed to do that. And I always argue that if I am not supposed to be in Paryushana, why I am supposed to do it other days? I should do everything the way I am supposed to do every time. So yes, I appreciate today's young generation is more transparent. Today's young generation is more technocrat. Today's young generation is less Hippocratic. Today's younger generation has got logic. Today's younger generation is, I'll tell you very frankly, you people are more intellectual than what we were at your age, because you have good exposure. All of you have got resources. You have got, all that head start which you people have got is much more than what we had. So I appreciate that. Almost all of you who joined over here identified himself that, oh, I am a Jain and I like Jainism, but I don't know more about Jainism. That was the general talk which you all people had. So let me start with 2 or 3 things, because Asna has raised this question about the mainly related to diet, and few questions which I would like to answer Asna. Asna means hope, right? If I'm not wrong, hope, yeah. Right? So yes, let's have the hope. So Asna, very nice question, and let me first start with 2 or 3 simple things. First, people talk about Ratri Bhojan, or the whether we should eat after sunset or not. Now, everything is related to sunset because our whole existence depends on the sun. Now, let's understand that if there is no sun, we are not there. So, sun is considered to be truly a god for us. Now, there is a system which is developed. The whole planet or the earth, the way it is developed, the way it has, you must know this, it must be knowing that there are 5 major phases in the earth where the whole earth was destroyed, what we call extinct, 5 extinct of the universe. And we can correlate this with our 5 eras, what we say, 6 eras, first era, second era, fourth era, 5 era, and the 5th era is started now. Now, it is very clearly understood that our metabolism and our digestive systems are very active when there is a sunlight. So let's understand this from the point of view of from the physical point of view. The second thing which is very important is the food which is kept, which is eaten or which is kept outside, or which is to be eaten out after the sunset. There is a lot of fermentation and there is a lot of what we call germination. So this is second thing. The third thing which is which you people should which you people will now appreciate. Let's see, we know about not only the insect, but we know about the microscopic, or you can say even not microscopic, subtle microscopic organisms which are existing in this universe. Let's take example of corona. All the viruses together which are existing on this earth, if you collect all those viruses and if you weigh them, the weight of those viruses which are existing on this earth will not be more than 1 gram. You might get surprised. Yes, it cannot be more than 1 gram. Now, Tirthankar Mahavir has spoken even the living beings which are minute than this, and they are called tamas jivas, tamasa jivas. Now, these jivas, as soon as the sunlight goes away, these jivas settle on the earth, and they are very harmful for you. As a doctor, I can tell you, and I still remember an occasion. I was in USA, and somewhere near Philadelphia, there was a temple where I went there, and there were some people who were not Jain. They came to listen to me, and there was one person who was arguing with me that no, whatever you have been talking all about, is all some funny fairy tales, and there is no such thing like not to have the food at the night. The thing has changed, the light is there, and I will tell you, the scientifically we have proved that in the artificial light, around the artificial light, there are so many types of microorganisms which are moving around. The sun has got a power which is very, it's like a sanitization, it's like sterilization. So why not to adopt that? Now this particular gentleman, who was an English gentleman, I don't remember his name right now, he was arguing with me a lot, and I had another lecture after 1 week. So it was all Saturday it was going on. So I said, whatever name, let's say it was Jack. So I said, Jack, do one thing. You don't believe is fine. Okay, you may think that this all looks very different, but do one thing. Let's see, you practice chaviyar. Chaviyar means not to eat after sunset for 5 days or 6 days till we come for the next lecture. And you won't believe, when he came for the next lecture, he really, he bowed down to me. He said, Doctor, I have never experienced such a great energy in myself. I have never experienced this kind of freshness. I have never experienced this kind of, my body is totally changed just with 5 days of chaviyar. What is this? It's an experiential science. In those days, there were very few people who can think beyond certain things. So this is something which, and you probably must be knowing, there is France is going to create an artificial sun now. France and the countries around that is going to create an artificial sun. The second, Amita, when the question usually comes about the food, is about the underground food.
Yes.
Food which is, why not to eat onion, why not to eat potatoes, and why not to eat certain kind of food which are underground. Now, again, as I told you, that as I told you, I am not Tirthankar. Tirthankar has seen something. Okay. Now it's up to me to believe or not to believe. That's one part. But let me tell you again, the whole Indian sciences or the Indian scripture describes the food into 3 major categories, which is called Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. You can remember this word afterwards and go a little more in more detail of that. At the same time, the food mainly depends on the culture which you have, the geographical condition where you stay, what is available, and the climate. So food is not only related to religion. There are so many things. And fortunately in India, even in those days, ample amount of vegetarian food was available. So, the insistence was on vegetarian food, and also the food which does not destroy the things from the ground. Because when you eat ground, with whatever is underground, I'll tell you one more important thing. Today, you feel, take any virus, and you know that in a very small, like you wash your hands. Why do you wash your hands? We don't, in case of corona, because that touching somebody can transfer millions of viruses, because for to get infected from the coronavirus, it has to be the number of the virus which you need is 10 raised to 30. That means the billions of viruses you need. That means you have approved as on today that just on your hands you can have millions of viruses. But Tirthankar Mahavir has seen much beyond that. He says that in a very small part of those which are underground vegetables, the lives which are existing there are not only million, ananta. Ananta means infinite. So and again, I always feel like this, that okay, why to take a chance? Let's observe something which we can observe, and there are alternatives available. If there are alternatives available, let's believe in somebody who has experienced this or who has a knowledge this. But at the same time, I wouldn't insist somebody. This you will learn only and only when you learn Dravyanusangra, when you learn types of jivas which are there, when you go into the depth of how Tirthankar Mahavir has described jiva vichar. Until you don't know your faith into not eating at night or not eating the ground, the things which are underground will not get established. But 2 things. Again, don't make Jainism as a restaurant business, restaurant religion. It's much beyond that. Now, the one more question which came to me and Amita when we were talking was about the milk. Whether milk. my personal opinion is that we should avoid milk as far as possible. The vigai are considered to be abhaksha vigai and bhaksha vigai. Though this is abhaksha vigai, that means if required, you can use it. If required, you can use it. Otherwise, the milk should be stopped or milk should not be taken. Second thing, as on today, the more the milk, more will be, the more the dairy business, more will be the requirements of the cows or the other animals. And ultimately what happens? Ultimately, they are all sent to the slaughterhouses after they stop giving the milk. More the dairies, more will be the slaughterhouses. So I always propagate to be vegan as much as possible. The second thing, the cruelty on the animal is so much in this particular business. It's not like those ancient times when there was a cow in the house. The cow used to give the milk to his offsprings, and whatever extra milk was available was used, because otherwise it will be in waste. So literally speaking, the milk became a part of our food because of our culture. But yet at the same time, I would definitely say that no, you should avoid as much as you can. Though traditionally, we are the believer of the people. We believe that extra milk which was coming out of the cows was used in our tradition for a long time. So this is in nutshell about the food. You may have so many questions, Ashna, about the food habits, but again, let me tell you, let us not make Jainism a religion of restaurant. All we know is that after the Paryushan, Cream Center, and all those New Yorkers, all those restaurants are full of Jain people. We 7 days we don't eat in Paryushan, and then we flooded with restaurants. So don't make Jainism is much beyond restaurant. Ashna, I think I have tried to explain whatever little I know about Jainism.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, sir. I think that really was very helpful. I think Aryan had one more question about which we can sort of put it in this same group. Aryan, do you want to go and ask about the alcohol then?
Yeah, so one of my fully Jain friends, like a few years ago, I was asking him the same questions about why they can't drink alcohol, and his answer was I think I forgot what it was, but mainly that I forgot which liquor, but one of them comes from potatoes. I think it was vodka, so you can't drink that because it comes from the underground. But for all the other, like, beer comes from barley and etc. Wine comes from grapes. They both aren't underground. So I just want to know why Jains don't want. It's a part of the religion not to drink.
There are two simple reasons. One is that no alcohol can be prepared without fermentation, and fermentation is a process where there are millions and millions of lives which are there. They are destroyed. Now try to understand the microorganisms which are there in this universe. Now, because we know about the bacteria and the viruses which are damaging us, but there are millions of other viruses and millions of other bacteria which are part of the ecosystem. If they do not exist, we will not exist. So first of all, we cannot destroy the ecosystem unnecessarily. One. Second thing which is very important, see, you and me as a doctor, or you and me as a common person would always think, when we talk about the food, what we talk, okay, what is the chemical structure? What is the nutritional value? How much vitamin it has got? How much protein it has got? How much carbohydrate it is? No, this is part of it. Food has got three effects. One is your physical body. Second is on your mind. And third is on your spiritual life. The spiritual life exists within you. Just don't think that you are only physical and mental. There is something which is spiritual. We all have spiritual health. Anything like this, what makes you addict, what brings you to the addiction, what spoils your health, where we are not observing non-violence. Why do we do that? Ultimately, everybody in the world knows that alcohol is not good. There cannot be any article which would say that alcohol is good. Jainism is a strong believer of non-violence. Wherever possible, in whatever way it is possible, try to see that you do not disturb the other living beings. This is the foundation of Jainism. See, I always say that, do you want to be called a Jain or no? He said, if I want to be called a doctor, I must have a degree which makes me doctor. And if somebody says that I want to be Jain, I said, you must at least believe in one thing, that you will have minimum violence in your life, in your all act. It may be a violence in your vachana or verbal violence, or the mind, my violence by the thought, or violence in whatever you have been eating or doing. So I strongly believe that alcohol, in a way, as a medically also not good. Physical health is destroyed, your mental health is destroyed, and your spiritual health is destroyed. So in whatever way it is prepared, whether it is prepared from underground things or whether it is prepared from barley and other things.
Thank you, sir. I think with talking about way of life, Jainism in your way of life, I'm going to call on Vidhi. I think Vidhi had a question that kind of relates in this group. So Vidhi, will you ask your question as well?
Yeah, sure. So being a student who lives in the dorms, it's kind of hard to like really, just follow like the diet like Ashna mentioned earlier, but also because we live in such a fast-paced life. We're working, we're studying, we have so much like limited time to ourselves. How do we practice Jainism and the principles in this limited time? And at the same time, how do we explain it, like kind of a summary of it to our peers who are not necessarily Indians? Like I have a lot of friends from all over the world who are not Indian, so they don't even know something called Jainism kind of existed till I kind of introduced them to it. But sometimes they have questions, and then obviously like I can't go into the depth of it, but just to summarize as to why we do certain things. And at the same time, like I as a student, how can I like in my limited time be a good Jain and practice like the Jainism principles?
What do you really want to practice? Only food? Are you talking
No,
about
not
the
food.
food part only?
No,
Okay.
not the food, like beyond the food, because food still is manageable, so many options now. But beyond that, like when I was back in India, in Mumbai, I had the time to go with my nani to like Derasar, for example. And even during Parishan to Pratikaman. But now it's like we don't really necessarily have the time. Then how do we like in the limited time, how do we still do things?
See, basically, any ritual, going to Derasar or going to do a Pratikraman or Samai, these are only the means to make yourself better or to make yourself pure. Okay. However, I strongly believe that the religion is to be practiced every moment. Religion is not to be just go to Derasar and forget about it, or do Pratikraman in the evening and forget about it. If you really feel that you have committed something which was not right, if you just feel that I'm so sorry about it, just for a moment, you don't need a God in front of you. You don't need any Pratikraman book in front of you. Just contemplate just for a moment. You may be in your car, you may be in your bus, you may be in your on your desk, wherever you are. Just contemplate that I'm sorry that I have done something which was not right, and that is your Pratikraman. Nothing more than that. The second thing, going to Derasar. Fine. We go to Derasar, it's a tradition, it's good, it increases your power, or what you call, you see somebody there as a Tirthankaras. So it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but that's not essential part of your religion, not at all. What is essential part of your religion? That in front of you, you always think about somebody who is my guide, who is my inspiration, who is the person in whom I believe. Yes, there are Tirthankaras, there are monks. They lived a different kind of life, and they addressed all the problems which we have right now, and they ultimately got rid of those problems. That's all. I mean, if you want to be a Bill Gates, you don't have to keep a photo of Bill Gates in your hand. You don't have to go and pray Bill Gates daily. Not necessary. So if you can't do the rituals, if you can't do Pratikrama, if you can't do Samai, what is Samai? You have a close friend of yours, just next to you. You are staying in a dome, and there is a girl staying next to you, and she shouts at you for no reason. It's not your fault, but she still shouts at you. Keeping quiet at that particular time, not to react, is your Samaik. The Samaik is not something which you do for 48 minutes. People have to be taught about this, that if you do, fine, but if you can't do it, Don't have a guilt conscious that, oh, I can't do sama, I can't do pratikraman, I can't do puja. No. At your age, when I was studying my medicine, we had to, have the whole night we were working, one patient after the other patient. And okay, in those days, I used to have a cup of tea even at 1 o'clock at night. I mean, I never felt bad about it. That was something which was required at that particular time. But now I'm at the age of 70. I can definitely regularize myself. It's not possible for me. So whenever the time permits, you try to practice as much as you can. But if you cannot practice, don't worry about it. Most important part I'll tell you, in any circumstances, keep be cool, take care of your diet properly, and try to understand that life is much beyond what you have been thinking about. That's all. That's Jainism. Jainism is not what you people think. Okay? In those days, Dada, Dadi, Nani, they used to do some rituals because their life was different. Your life is different. Your rituals will be different. Your pratikraman would be different. Your samaik would be different. Why should I do a samaik which was traditionally done? I can do my own samaik. I can do my own pratikraman. That's what I want to learn to the youngsters.
Sir?
Yes?
Sir, I was wondering if you could very quickly kind of touch upon the 5 Anuvrat, because that's something that can be done in a daily basis and kind of just keeps you, and also that's something that you can probably explain to your friends and kind of, give a little sort of a window into the
I would agree with you, Amita Mehta. See, we are not monks. We are simple human beings. We have our business, we have our families, we have our relationship, we have something which we are part of that. But what Tirthankar Mahavir said, Anuvratas. Anuvratas mean minor vows. Again, remember, Jainism depends only on 2 words, non-violence and non-attachment. Now, I'll try to explain non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you don't become wealthy. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you don't make money. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you don't have a luxury. There's a very, very long belief about non-attachment. We can discuss that at one particular time. However, 2 things. Non-violence, which is called the first Anuvrat is called Sthula Pranatipat. What is meant by Sthula Pranatipat? That you don't kill any organism, not the 1-sensed organism. 1-sensed organisms are not included here. It's only 2-sensed to 5-sensed organisms. You don't kill them intentionally. As simple as that. They don't ask you to drink water which is boiled. They don't ask you to think about all those one ekindriya jivas. So it's very comfortable. I mean, I don't kill ant, I don't kill mosquitoes, I don't kill rat, I don't kill monkeys, I don't kill any other bigger animals. That's what I'm supposed to do. Second is asatya. Asatya means, there are 2 meanings of asatya or satya. Truth. Okay, the truth doesn't mean truth, really. It means that whatever you speak has to be right. Not only right, it has to be pleasant. Don't think that you can hurt anybody. Even if you're right or wrong, you have no business to hurt anybody. You have to be extremely careful. The third thing is achorya. Don't steal anything from anybody. Thing which does not belong to you should not be taken from anybody. Yes, you can ask, you can request, that's a different thing. But without permission of somebody else, nothing of others can be used. And I know in America, you people are more, it's not like India. India people even don't ask and start using your things. But America, I know people, even children don't use the things which belongs to their parents without asking them. So you have got a good tradition of that. Now the 4th one is called brahmacharya. Now brahmacharya is not for us actually. It's called the Swadhara Santosh. It's you have to be careful about your pleasures. Brahmacharya does not mean only about the sexuality. Brahmacharya means the pleasures. More the pleasures. Now some people ask me that, sir, what's wrong in having pleasures? Let me tell you a simple. The pleasure beyond certain point becomes an addiction. You will never know that when your pleasure becomes an addiction. So you have to be extremely careful to see that you control your pleasures. And last one is aparigraha. A simple meaning of aparigraha is you have wealth, no problem, but earn with the right meanings. Don't do any fraud. Whatever you earn does not only belong to you, it belongs to the society. Use it for the right purpose. I don't say you don't have a car. I said, yes, you can have a car. You can use Mercedes car, no problem. But think that suppose you earn 100 rupees. How much do you use it for yourself? How much do you use it for your relatives? How much do you use it for your people who are working with you? And how much you are using for the people who are not known to you? Just calculate and live accordingly. If you're happy with that, that's fine. So 5 anuvratas are very important and everybody can practice. Nobody would say that, oh, I cannot practice this. People feel that Jainism is difficult to practice. And I'll tell you, Jainism is most easy to practice. Most easy. It's not a dogmatic religion. It's not a religion that if you don't do this particular 5 things a day, you're doomed. No. Most flexible religion as far as the whole world is concerned. Because you see, there is no flexibility in the Semitic religions. Islam does not give you any flexibility. Christianity does not give you any flexibility. Indian religions are very flexible. Hinduism and Jainism are most flexible religion of the world and very easy to practice.
Thank you, sir. I hope that helps Vidhi a little bit while she is in New York and, to be a more practicing Jain. Sir, since we are talking so much about the way of life, I thought maybe we can look at, I think there are a couple of questions about the antiquity of Jainism as a religion. So I'm going to call upon Jehan. He had a question about, the foundation of Jainism. And then I'm going to call on to Yukti, who also has a couple of questions about the antiquity of Jainism. So
I'm sorry,
Jehan,
who is the Jehan? Okay.
Jehan's going to come up.
So I was gonna, wait, do I ask my Titanka a question?
Yes.
So you had the question about who's the founder of, so you want to ask him about how religion started and
how did Jainism exactly start and who founded it?
Okay. Jehan, right? Your name is Jehan. Jehan means intellect, right?
No, it means the world.
Oh, Jahan. That is not Jehan, that is Jahan. Okay. Fine, okay. Jehan has another meaning which means intellect actually. Doesn't matter. Chalo. Jehan, you put a wonderful question. Now let me ask you very, in a 2 ways. There are 2 things. One which we call faith. Try to understand. There are people who have a faith. And there are people who have a faith, they don't have a logic or they don't want to apply the logic. And there are people who are logical. There are people who are academicians. I am an academician. I'm not, obviously I have a faith in so many things, but I basically teach Jain philosophy at the academic level. So when we teach Jainism at the academic level, and if somebody asks me who founded Jainism or how old it is, so let me tell you very frankly, the human civilization, what we see right now, is not more than 1200 years old. So whatever existed before 1200 years is not seen at all by us, and we hardly have any evidences of that. Now, second thing, both traditions. In India, we have 2 traditions. One we call Vedic tradition, and what the another one is called Shraman tradition. Jainism is a part of the Shraman tradition. Both tradition has been existing together. You cannot say that this one is before and this one is after. We have very clear-cut evidences that 10,000 years back, there are so many evidences which will say us that Vedic system also existed in those days and Shraman tradition also existed. So to claim that my religion is older than any other religion is wrong. Every religion will believe that my religion is the oldest. There is no religion in the world which says that no, we are not eternal. If you ask Islam, they'll say we are eternal. If you ask Christianity, they would say we are eternal. So there is no religion in the world which says that we are not eternal. Even forget about the eternal. Now, who founded it? The second question is who founded it? If you ask the Christian person, he would say that Christianity is eternal. God is eternal. But it was revealed to us by Jesus. Or if you ask the person who is a Jewish, he would say that God is eternal. It was revealed to us by Moses. Similarly, if you ask Islam, he would say it was revealed to us by Muhammad Paigam. Similarly, we can say that the philosophy did exist since long. But who made us conversant with it, who revealed it to in front of us, then we say Tirthankar Mahavir is the person who revealed this in more systematic way to us as a 24th Tirthankara. But we have an historical evidences to say that there was somebody like Tirthankar Rushabdev who existed about 12,000 years back or 10,000 years back, and he was the person who created the civilization, whom we consider as our first Tirthankara. So the founder, in a way, Rushabdev and Tirthankar Mahavir, both, or it is eternal from our traditional point of view, or we can say that the Jainism, I'll tell you very importantly, the word Jain has not been there in any of our agamas. The word Jain did not exist when the agams were written. Agams were written in the 5th or 6th century, 1000 years after Tirthankar Mahavir, and still Jain word was not there. So Jain word is a very lately coined word, maybe probably in the 7th or 8th century, when the different religions were called by the different Buddha religion. We were called Jain because we believed in people who are called Jinas. Jinas means our Tirthankara. We were believing in them, so we were called Jain. So this is how the antiquity of Jainism is all about, in short.
All right. Thank you, sir. Let's move on to Yukti. Yukti also had a question about the the proof of the antiquity of Jainism, and also another question. So Yukti, are you?
Yes. So I have read that Hinduism is considered the most ancient religion in the world, but we believe that Jainism is like the most oldest religion in the world. But there is more evidence showing that Hinduism is more ancient. But on what statement can we believe that Jainism is the most ancient religion in the world?
Okay. First of all, I don't believe that Jainism is the most ancient religion. I don't believe it. Okay, because if you try to find out from the historical and the archaeological point of view, then you will definitely find, again, the word Hinduism should not be used. You should use the word Vedic religion, because in those days there was no word which was Hindu. Hindu word is very late. When basically the Britishers came, or the other people came to our country, they could not spell Sindhu. So instead of Sindhu, they say Hindu, from where Hindus and Sindhus, they were not being able to. So the Hinduism has come from there. Again, there is nothing like Hinduism. Hindu is a culture. Hindu is not a religion. What we call Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism is not a religion. Hinduism is a culture. And if somebody asks me that culturally which culture you belong to, then I would say I belong to Hindu culture. So Hindu is not a religion. Hindu has got so many religions in it. Hindu is, it was not only Hindu culture has got so many religions, and one of them is a Vedic religion. Again, Vedic religion has got so many religions into it. So, you to use the word Hinduism is not right. You should use the word Vedic religion. And let me tell you, Rig Veda is considered to be the most ancient text. The evidences about the Vedic rituals, Vedic rhymes, Vedic practices are much more evident or much more clearly documented. About the Jainism, we sometimes talk about that some archaeological evidences we have found on in Mohenjo-daro or in the Hadappa Sanskriti or the Hadappa excavations. Let me tell you frankly that yes, this may be or this may not. It is not something which is 100%. See, what we have tried to do, any person standing in the Kayot Sarga position, we try to name it a row. This Kayot Sarga position is only in Jainism. It is not so. Kayot Sarga position is also practiced in Vedic religion. So we don't want to claim. And what difference would it make? Why should I claim? My question to the youngsters or anybody is that why I want to show that my religion is superior to your religion. I don't want to make any competition with anybody. My religion is my religion. I like it. I love it. And let me understand the essence of it. See, we have got wrong practice of all religion. I'm not talking only about Indian religion. All religions tries to, say that we are superior than others. And that's the problem. I mean, we did not go into it. If somebody says, okay, fine, he has said that. History does not prove this. History is very clear about it. Tradition would say, everybody, a religion would try to say that, every religion says it's a way of life. Every religion says that we have got answer to everything. Like we say to everything. let's not get into it. I'm born Jain. Let me understand Jain. Let me practice Jain. Why should I practice Jainism? I want to have a good physical health. I want to have a good social health. I want to have a good spiritual health. I want to have a good mental health. That's all. Nothing more than that. Nothing beyond that.
Okay.
I think I'm answering your questions.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Amita, some people may not like such answers, but I'm very clear about it. I'm an academician. I'm not a preacher, and I would like to speak whatever is seen by evidences rather than faith. Again, I don't want to object somebody's faith. Okay.
No, and it's okay. We are actually doing the Swadhyaya and we are exchanging views. So, you know, what works for you, you take, and then that doesn't work for you, kind of leave it. So this is just the exchange of views. I wanted to now kind of shift the gear a little bit because we have many more questions and we probably going to run short of time. So, sir, if I can ask you to maybe shorten your responses a little bit because I want to be able to touch on, because they are very interesting questions. So I wanted to be able to, okay, Divira wanted to ask a question on this topic. So I'm going to let her speak a little bit and then we can kind of move on to the philosophy of.
Right. So when you said that about like the older religion, in Jainism it says that in the previous birth of Swami Bhagwan, in the bhav where he was Marichi, that time he had started a new religion, and people say that it's now a caste or a religion. So I think, is that Hinduism? And then if he had only formed Hinduism, how can they say that it's a bigger term or it was made after? It was like, how could they say it's made before if it was made
after? Vidhi, right? Vidhi, try to understand. Vidhi, Divira. Okay. Divira, see, basically all religion has got 3-4 things. The first one, which is called, is the stories or the kathas. That's the most superficial level. From katha, you go to a second level, which is called the essence of katha. And third thing, after knowing the essence of katha, you relate it to your present life, which is called tattvas. And the fourth stage is you practice it. Now see, for a common people, the kathas are more important because it's something which is interesting. The story of Marichi starting the Hinduism is katha, according to me. Now you cannot have the evidences. Now, so what you have to understand here, that there is a faith. There are people who have a faith into this, they believe into it, and let that be there. Now see, suppose you are a young girl and suppose I ask you that the snake bites, and after the snake bites, the milk comes. Somebody would believe it because that's a faith base. And somebody says, no, this is not possible. This is just a story. So, and let me tell you, whether there was a Marichi or not, whether the Marichi established Hinduism or not, or that Vedic tradition was there, how is it concerned to me? Digambar would say that Tirthankar Mahavir was not married. Chitambar would say Tirthankar Mahavir was married. How does it concern us? Why do we think about this? I think these questions have to be omitted from our life.
Okay. Sir, we lost your voice. Sir?
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. There was some technical disturbance. Yes, Amita Mehta.
Okay, so let's move on to questions about actual philosophy of Jainism. There are quite a few questions from our panelists. I'm going to call on Titiksha. Titiksha, do you want to ask your questions on the philosophy of Jainism that you have? 2 questions there.
Yeah, so Jainism says that to attain Manushya Janam is the hardest. You get it after 84 lakh births, doing really good deeds. But the population of world is increasing, as we know. So does that mean in one of the worst eras, there are many souls doing good deeds?
Titiksha, very intelligent question. But let me tell you, that the population is more right now. Why? It's not because of any good deeds which we did. In past, we always had wars, we always had major diseases, our lifespan was small, and that was the reason population never exploded the way it has exploded today. Otherwise, population was very large even in the past. So first of all, our notion of believing that the population explosion is there today is only because of the way we have advanced, our lifespan has increased. There are very few natural calamities, or we have got measures to fight those calamities. So first of all, get rid of that idea that population was. Secondly, human life is rare, no doubt about it.
Sir, you've lost your voice.
So after so many billions of the years, human life came into existence. The fittest would survive. So the human life is definitely rare in compared to that. Now let's understand another way. Suppose you take a ball of a curd. How many bacteria are there into that? Millions, more than the total population of the world. So yes, it's a rare species. Though we see that there are 750 crore of people on the world, but the 750 souls are there in one vati or one cup of milk. I mean, one cup of curd. So we are definitely countable. We are most intelligent. We are the fittest which has survived, and we are definitely rare. So that the rarity is not it's not something. I'll tell you a very simple thing. All of you are mature enough. Out of 200 millions of sperms, the one sperm fertilizes. Remember, 200 millions of the sperms, one sperm fertilizes. Don't you think that is rare? So yes, human life is rare.
Thank you, sir. Titiksha, do you want to ask your second question, which also has to do with the...
Yeah. So you sin the most when you inflict pain on yourself, like for example, like committing suicide. However, Jainism says that one should take Santara if their death is near. Isn't that very contradictory, as it's causing harm and pain to the body?
First of all, Santara practice at present is practiced only by one sect. All other sects, Therapanthis, Murti Pujak, Digambar, few sects of Digambar do practice Santara, but otherwise, practice of Santara is not so common right now, because what we feel, or our acharyas have felt, that in this particular time, to remain into dharma dhyan is very difficult. You cannot remain into Santara unless until you are in a dharma dhyan, because it's very easy to slip from dharma dhyan to artha dhyan, and that's why Santara is not something which is advised as on today. However, there are some sects where Santara is done, especially the Sthanapasi sect. Now see, when you do Santara, it is something which is voluntary. It is something which you do with a very strong mind. It is something where your faith is your faith is so much that any kind of pain, even if it comes, you accept it as a part of it actually. So when somebody accepts this, yes, there is a pain, there is a problem on the body, but you accept it. So it's a type of, it's something which is a meditative practice. It is something where you do a vrata. It is something which is voluntary. It is something which is spiritual. It is something where you have made up your mind very strong. So even if there is a pain, even if there is a suffering, you very nicely, or you very polite, I mean very with all good things, you suffer and you enjoy on the point. So that's why Santara cannot be considered as a self-inflicting injury at all. It's not something to do with suicide at all. It's a much different thing than suicide.
Yes, and it's also very it's a very sort of a complex kind of a concept. So it's really hard to do it in a very short time. But thank you, sir, for just kind of touching on it. I'm going to ask Jalak. Jalak had a question about the importance of Pachkan. So Jalak, do you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, so my question was, today we see a lot of youngsters are avoiding to go to Mara Sahib, because most of the time when you go for darshan, you're asked to take badha. So how important it is to take a badha even if we are practicing the principles without taking a badha? So that is my
Jalak,
question.
Jalak, I still remember you are sitting in the class. I know second or third batch. I remember you
Yeah.
in the university. See, Badha is, I mean, personally speaking, this is something where by which the youngsters don't want to go to our monks or guru. Because as I told you in the beginning that we are asked to do practice without having the knowledge of it. So that's a stumbling block. However, what is importance of Vrata or Bada? It's something like to strengthen your confidence, to strengthen your whatever you want to decide, whatever you have been deciding, you just strengthen that with blessing of somebody, and somebody has suggested you to do this. Now, ultimately, I'll tell you very important. That I also used to say that, oh, why you should take Bada and why you should do that. So whenever I also used to go to monk and had a problem, I said, देखो महाराज साहब के पास गए तो कुछ ना कुछ तो बाधा दे दे. So what I ultimately did, I mean, we are all intelligent people. I said, महाराज साहब ऐसी बाधा दो जो मैं कर सकूं, ऐसी बाधा मत दो जो मैं नहीं कर सकूं. मैं डॉक्टर हूँ, आप बोलेंगे ये मत करो, वो मत करो, शाम को टाइम पे खा लो, तो मेरे से ये पॉसिबल नहीं है with my busy practice. It's not that that possible. Yes, I'll try to do maximum. तो मैं कहता था कि मुझे ऐसी बाधा दो, अगर आपको देनी है तो ऐसी तो which I can practice. तो मैंने ऐसी ऐसी छोटी छोटी, बहुत छोटी छोटी, कि चलो एक पेशेंट को आप फ्री देखें. तब मैं ऐसी बाधा लेना चाहता हूँ. I'll see one patient daily free. In those days I required money. I was not that affluent doctor. I required money. So मैंने ऐसी बाधा. Then sometime I used to get, ठीक है, 3 days I will do चौकिया. So our monks are very good. You talk with them very frankly. You open up and you say that Gurudev, मैं ये नहीं कर सकता हूँ, but I'll do this. Now starting, this is a starting point. एक बार आप कुछ नियम लेना शुरू करेंगे ना, once you start taking certain badhas, I don't use the word even badhas, it's a resolve. It's a resolution that you are making to yourself that I will do this. देखिए आप जिम में जाते हैं ना, तो आपका इंस्ट्रक्टर क्या कहता है, इतने पुशअप तो करना ही है. आप बोलते नहीं करो. आप स्कूल में जाते तो बोलते हैं इतने नियम को तो पालन करना ही है. यू आर सपोज्ड टू फॉलो दिस मेनी रूल्स. तो आप ना बोलते हैं क्या? नो, यू डोंट से नो, because there you are conditioned that you are supposed to do it. When you go to when you go to your monk, go with a condition that yes, he may tell you to practice something. और आप ये कहिए कि गुरुदेव मैं ये प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर सकती हूँ, I can do this practice, accept that and do it. So this is how you have the improvement in your own life. This is how you learn to keep sanya. This is how you will try to see that yes, today I did this, and you will enjoy doing it. So be a little open about it. गुरुदेव का दर्शन करना बहुत जरूरी है. It gives you a lot of energy. It tells you to something that there are people, who are actually the torch bearer for our religion. गुरुदेव के बिना हमारा समाज आज टिकता नहीं था. आज अगर पूरी दुनिया में हम कहे, if we tell something about our religion, I said you cannot have the monk of this kind in any other religion. So they are most respectable. They are the 5 नमस्कार मंत्र में भी हम उसको नमस्कार करते हैं. उसके पास जाते हैं तो आपके पिताजी कुछ कहते हैं, suppose your parents tell you something, don't you believe it? Yes, you believe it. So go with that little open mind and be very frank with him. कोई बाधा देते थे तो बोलो कि नहीं गुरुदेव मैं ये नहीं कर सकती. I'll do that.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on. I think we have 2 more questions in this. One is from Yukti and one is from Aryan. So I'm going to ask Yukti first to ask her question about the dreams and thoughts. And then Aryan, you can go next after her asking about your 3rd question that you had on your list.
So, dreams and thoughts, according to Jainism, is said to be a part of our previous life. But sometimes the dreams and thoughts we get are not very real and eccentric. So is this true?
Let me tell you, the thoughts are something which you think voluntarily, which you think with the efforts right now. Thought is not something which is about the past life. Thought is something which you think as on today. The dreams, what are the dreams? Dream is nothing but parapsychology. That means at subconscious mind, there are so many things which you have thought about it. And when you get those things in your dream means those the impressions which you inherited or which you have bonded in your subconscious minds, they come up. But unfortunately, what happens, in the dream, there is no sequence sometimes. You think of something and then there is something which is different and the something which is different, because the impressions which are coming out of your subconscious mind do not come in a systematic way, because that time you are not awakened. So that is the problem with the dream. The third thing about the past life, see, it's very rare, but it can happen, because what we call this is called the jati smarana gnan or a mati gnan, is a part of a mati gyan, and that can happen where subconsciously you can regress yourself to the past life. Jainism believes into past life, right? So you can regress yourself and then something might come up. And that's why, we have a stories where, the monks and many people have a dream about their past life. So if you go to the past lives, yes, you will have the dream of that kind.
Thank you. Aryan?
So my question is, it's not too much about Jainism, but more about religion in general. I'm not very religious, and I think that comes from growing up internationally and seeing people with different religions, different beliefs from birth, and they all do believe in different religions and all believe that theirs is the correct one. And I think that the main reason for that is that they're born into it. So wouldn't that mean that religious belief is more heritable than it is of something that you discover by yourselves? And wouldn't that mean that if, for example, we weren't brought up in Jain families, let's say we were brought up in Christian families, would we have the same belief in Christianity that we would have in Jainism?
First of all, as you said that you are not very religious, and I would agree with you. I am also not very religious. So we go the same boat. I respect Christianity, I respect Islam, the way they are practicing. I mean, I never would like to say that my religion is better than your religion, because it's a faith. And faith has got its own identity. So first of all, everybody let everybody believe in the faith. I am born as a Jain. I'm born as a Jain. And if I want to know about my philosophy, I may go into the depth of it without thinking what others are. Okay. Now, let me tell you again, Aryan, you are quite grown up actually. Jainism is a science. It's a science of life. It's a science where you think not only about what you see, science of something which is unseen, seen by others, but not seen by us. I'll tell you very simply. Jainism believes in a law of conservation. Jainism believes in a massless particles which has been recently discovered. Jainism believes in a 5 major extinction which occurred on this earth. Jainism believes in a velocity of the particle. In one samaya, your soul can travel in the whole universe. And now you know the massless particle, the velocity of the massless particle is so much that you can't believe. There is something which I would say aura, something the concept of the time, something about the atom. As somebody was saying that when we were a small child, we were told that atom is atom, Parmanu is Parmanu, it's not further cannot be divided. Now you know it's electron, proton. Now you know it's quarks. Now you know that it's neutrons. So now you know the atom is further divided. So science is trying to understand a lot. At the same time, science is not complete. We have to keep our mind open. That's all. Keep mind open. Don't try to say that somebody has said is absolutely wrong, because I have not yet been able to prove into the laboratory. We were not being able to prove in the laboratory that plant has life. The day you prove it in the laboratory, plant has life, you start believing. So keep your mind open. And again, Jainism, or for that matter, any religion, speaks about how you want to behave in your own life. Vastu sahavo dhammo. That's the definition. Vastu ka swabhavi dharma hai. Your nature is your life. And it goes beyond one very simple. What is consciousness? Why you exist? Why do you exist? Ask yourself, what is the purpose of my existence? And what keeps me alive? What is that thing which I cannot see? Somebody dies. Something goes on. We don't see that. But do you know, that is what is keeping you alive. Now, we don't want to understand anything on that. हम आत्मा के बारे में कुछ सोच ही नहीं, because science has not yet proved it. So, forget about it. But how can you forget about it? That is something which is keeping you alive. That is something which gives you pain. That is something which gives you pleasure. And you don't want to study about it. That's where we are mistaken. So yes, Science has not understood it yet. Let's keep our mind open. Tomorrow science might tell us that no, there is something like so. We have not yet understood the consciousness. So my belief, as I told you, I'm not religious as you are not religious, right? But I'm spiritual. The only thing which I do, I keep my mind open. That's all. Yes, somebody has said like this, maybe right, maybe wrong. I'm not the person to judge it without having the in-depth knowledge of it. Actually. So to all youngsters, keep mind open, learning about it. And in the beginning, I told you, Aryan, unless and until you don't learn Dravyanu Yoga, anything which you practice, you will always have the questions.
Well, thank you, sir. Okay, so that was really wonderful. The whole round of thinking about the philosophy of Jainism and kind of looking at it. I wanted to actually touch a little bit upon. I know we have one question on the cosmology. I think we can kind of touch upon it because we're talking about science and spirituality. I'm going to ask Titiksha to ask her question about the cosmology. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I've heard that Jainism says that Jainism believes that Earth is flat, but there is proof. There are people who've seen it with their own eyes. There are images that suggest that Earth is actually spherical in shape. So what exactly do we believe?
See, in literature, in Jain literature, there are 11 angas, or the initial things which are said by our Tirthankaras. Now, our Tirthankaras has not described the cosmology at all. It comes into Upanga. Upanga means, like Surya Pragnapti and Chandra Pragnapti and all those things. Right? These are not written by our Tirthankaras. These are the Vani of our Acharyas. Now, somebody asked me that whether the earth is round or flat. I would say earth is round. Earth is very definitely round. You should not think. Now, again, my question here would come that in which perspective, in which kind of situation this thing was written. So what happens? If you try to say that there are few things which are wrong, then you try to make the whole religion wrong. There are certain things which are not yet acceptable. Science has been different way and we are in a different way. Keep those things apart. There's some irritants are there always. So keep those things apart. Because, if you try to prove that, Jainism has said that earth is flat, so the whole Jainism is wrong, don't do that. Yes, there are certain things which we have not been able to resolve and will not be. But if somebody asks me, will I teach my grandchild that, because I am a Jain scholar, believe that the earth is flat? See, what happened is Christianity. Christianity said the whole universe was created in 8 days by God. Would the Christian believe into it? No. They will also not believe it. So keep such irritant asides. Don't even discuss about it. As again I told you, Jainism is not about cosmology. Jainism is not about. There are things which tells you that okay, there is a word which is heaven. There is a word which is hell. It's a question of reward and punishment. Philosophy. Don't get into it. You just think that yes, this is how I've been taught. Jainism is much beyond discussing such points.
All right. So there are a couple more questions about technology or science and Jainism. I'm going to call on Jehan. Jehan had a question about science and faith. Jehan?
Yeah, so I was just asking, is there any way Jainism and any other scientific or faithful belief could interlock to form an agreement? Because my history with science and Jainism, I can see that there's a line in between them, and they both have similar. Like for example, it's either facts or faith. So I just want to know: is there any way that there could be an agreement between both of them?
First of all, both are in agreement with each other. They are not different from each other. Just one example of earth being flat and earth being round does not make that everything which is said in Jainism is not science. If you read Pudgala's Nikaya, which is one of the literature on matter, you find so many things. It talks about fission, it talks about integration and disintegration. It talks about the massless particle, as I previously mentioned. There's so many things which you can. It talks about the mathematics. It talks about the biology. It talks about the botany. It talks about the health science. It talks about the mental science. So which science is not there? There are so many sciences which are there in our literature. If you just look at it, you'll be able to find it. But as far as the cosmology is concerned, there are so many things which our present cosmology and Jain cosmology doesn't match. So don't think only of from the point of view of cosmology. Think of so many things which is beyond cosmology, and you will find that there are so many similarities between the presently what we have found, Utpad Vyaya Dravya, which is considered to be the law of conservation. So there are so many things which are good. There are so many things. The concept of kala or the time and the concept of akash or the space is so much in detail described in Jainism, and it matches. Today you are saying that there is 75% of dark energy, right? And we do so, we term this word as dharmastika. In those days, Tirthankar thought about dark energy and dark matter, thought about the substances which are there, the matter which is there. So try to see from the positive point of view, and you'll find there are so many things in Jainism which are there as a part of our science. Both of them have to go in hand with hand. There are people who usually try to tell us that science and religions are away from each other. I wouldn't believe into it. I've gone into the depth of number of things, and I've found that there are so many places where science and religion go in hand, but we try to find out only differences. We should also try to find out what similarities are there and what is been thought in those days. Simple example, microorganism. How many years back your microscope came? Only 500 years back. And our Tirthankaras have talked about the microorganism 2600 years back. So try to see both ways. Don't try to see only from one angle, and you will find that there are so many things which are very important in both of them. And again, I told you, we as a human being right now only deal with what is seen by our five senses. There is something which is beyond that. And many of you must be knowing that there are no 3 dimensions. Tirthankar Mahavir has talked about 12 dimensions. 12 dimensions. Probably science could go to that extent later on.
Well, someone once told me, a scientist, that science is only 400 years old. So I think it has a lot to catch up with.
True.
Okay, sir, I think we really running short of time. So I want to maybe have, we have 2 questions on sort of social environment and Jainism. And I know that Jehan and Divira still have a question a little bit about technology and achieving nirvana. So Jehan, do you want to ask your question, and then I'll go to Divira after that?
The one about which one? Can you please?
The one that you said, a reincarnation cycle to attain nirvana, and how do you prove it, or the evidence? Go ahead.
So it's actually a 2-part question. I only wrote the first one down because I had thought of the second part later. The first part is how do we receive the proof? How is the proof that they have attained nirvana? Because I don't think they can have any contact when they've attained nirvana. How do we know that when they attain nirvana? And also, is it true that anyone today could also attain nirvana?
Okay. Now, first of all, nirvana can be understood in many ways. One way, simple way, what we say, nirvana is the end of the life, and then you are going to have a life which is eternal without any body. That is one aspect of nirvana. Second is nirvana is that you getting rid of many things. It's called also nirvana. Nirvana means you are getting rid of it. Now see, what is our problem? Our problem is unhappiness. Now let's ask very simple way. Does the happiness exist? Said yes, happiness exists. My simple calculation, as far as your statistics is concerned, you all learn statistics in your school, right? And when the x exists, and when you have an x raised to n, what is the value of n? Value of n can be right from 0 to infiniteness. So if the happiness exists, there has to be happiness which is infinite. If the wealth exists, there has to be wealth which is infinite. So it's a concept. The concept is very simple, that if there is a happiness which is going to be infinite. And that infinite happiness in most of the religion is called nirvana. Let's understand from that point of view. Why should I try to prove that whether there is a moksha or not? And there is no way to prove that, because as I told you, we cannot prove anything which is not seen. We don't have that capability. Tirthankaras had that capability to see what is not seen by us.
Okay, thank you. So Divira had a similar question. Divira, do you want to ask the question about Keval Gnan?
They say that we are not able to achieve Keval Gnan in the technological era. I don't understand why, because people, like, I understand that now things have got advanced, we have more parigra and all of that, but also people can shed their karmas and people can actually like find the true value of life. So why is it not possible to attain Keval Gnan in this era?
Again, I would try to define Keval Gnan in two ways. Keval Gyan is what? One, we say that Keval Gnan means you have a knowledge of everything what is existing in this world, of Trikali Gnan, in all, past, present and future. That's one definition. My definition of Keval Gyan or Sarvagnata is also little different. Or it is not only different, philosophically we think. Keval Gnan is something where I have found the way for my complete happiness. I found that knowledge which gives me total eternal happiness in my life. That is God also. That is also known as Keval Gnan. If I get rid of raga and dvesh, or the attachment and the hatred, I become Keval Gnan. Now the concept of Keval Gnan or becoming a Sarvagna is not applicable as on today because of the effect of the time. The time in which we live, there are so many things which distract you to achieve the total non-violence and total non-attachment. I'll give a very simple example. So suppose few years back, when there was no aeroplane, was it possible for someone to fly from one country to the other country? No, it was not possible because that facility was not available. That was a positive point. Now let's go to the negative point. There are something which are happening in this world as on today, where to have your detachment totally from everything, or to be non-violent in total perspective is not possible, because we are living in that particular era. We are living in that particular time. So it's an effect of the time which is there on us, where we cannot purify ourselves as much as give people who could purify them few years back, maybe in third era and the fourth era. And that's why we are not having Keval Gnan. But at the same time, I'll tell you must pursue to become Keval Gnani even in this life. And what is that simple? Try to avoid anything which is an attachment. Try to avoid anything which is hatred. Rag or dvesha jitne bhi aap kam karenge, you'll go nearer to the moksha, or you'll go nearer to the nirvana. You may not see, suppose you want to be like Bill Gates. Try. You may not become as much as Bill Gates, but even we go a little nearer to you. So it's your goal. It's that what you want to achieve. You may not achieve it totally. It doesn't matter. But try to achieve as much as you can.
Yes. I really very two interesting questions on social environment. I think we are also
running short of time.
Running short of time, but let's see if we can do these two questions, and then
sure.
We'll. I think also Dilip Kaka wants to come up and say.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to have Zalak had two questions on social environment and Jainism. So I'm going to ask her to.
Yeah, so my question was, like we know that previously boys or males used to cover their head with pag or topi, and females used to have pallu. But with times we are seeing that in Derasar, males are not wearing pag or topi, but there are dupattas always at the dwar of Derasar. Also, with clothing, if we say that males used to wear dhoti or kurta and females used to wear sari, but nowadays if I talk about us, we usually prefer to go to Derasar when we are either going to college or job. So in between, when we have time and on the way we plan to go, But we see that nowadays boys are not forced to wear kurta or dhoti and come to Derasar. But at the same time, girls are asked to wear kurti or sari, but are not allowed to come in Derasar with jeans and top, even if they're decent. So, what is your say on that?
No, I would say that decent clothing should be there when you go to Derasar. That's one thing. And why this is more important for the female, I'll tell you very simple. It is a meaning. The man is born with four kind of natural instinct. The one which we call Ahar Sangna, Vai Sangna, Maithun Sangna, and Parigrasa. Maithun Sangna means attraction to the opposite sex. As simple as that. So the girl or the woman who comes in a way where the male crowd or the male people get more attracted to that particular person, that disturbs the whole system where you have been going actually. So to avoid this, there are systems. There are, हमारे घर में या तो हमारे हर जगह पे, there are certain, the place has got its own importance, right? I give a very simple example, and this I've narrated in my my drama which I created, Gandhi Before Gandhi. And the lawyer is asking that because the person has built a slaughterhouse on Samet Sikharji, right? And to build a slaughterhouse on his own land was not a crime. But the lawyer argues that you should see where you are putting up your slaughterhouse. It's a place, a religious place of some community, and you should not put it. Then he asks question that this is a courtroom, right? Now, do you think that urinating is a crime? But can I urinate into the courtroom? I cannot. So the question is that every place has its own rule. Every place is all on its entity, and we should try to preserve that. And that's why these rules are made. And it should also be applicable to the boys. They also should come with a decent clothes. You should not enter into a religious place with something which is not. When you go to some places, there are rules to enter in those places, right? And you cannot enter in those places the way you want to enter. Well, don't go to the places. That's as good as that.
All right. Charak, do you want to ask your next question as well?
Yeah. So my next question is, right now we know that the Pride movement is going on with 377 already released. So we see that the LGBTQA movement is very much in hype. So, and in Jainism also we have about the Ling and the three Vedas. But in the Tirth, if we see, there's only Sthapna of Shravak and Shravika. So in Jainism, where is this category of people placed?
Oh, okay. See, basically Shravak and Shravika which are there are considered from the Ling point of view, not from Veda's point of view. If you consider Veda's point of view, all are included. Because when we talk about the Kashayas, we have got a Stri Veda, Purusha Veda, and Napusank Veda. So that is included in part of our literature. That it is not that it is not included. However, when we talk about Shravak and Shravikas, it ultimately talks about the body, physical body. Okay. Now, you might ask me that there are some people who are, the transsexuals. What do we do about that? Why it is not been mentioned? It's something when you suppose when you say the population of the world, then you will say, oh, 33% Christian, 22% this. Then you don't talk about small things. But yes, if you read more into the details, there is mention about all these things. You have a mention about lesbianism, you have mentioned about gay, they have mentioned about intersexuality, they have mentioned about everything. Everything is mentioned. All sexual perversions are mentioned into our scriptures because they existed even in those days. As you know, your ling is related to your nama karma, your Veda is related to your Mohaniya karma, and read Mohaniya karma in more detail, and you will find all these things there. It does exist there. You have to refer the literature in more detail.
Thank you, sir. I think we are coming to the end of our Swadhyay. I'm going to ask on Yukti, that is the last question for today. And then we'll go to our closing. So Yukti, did you want to ask the question about Bihar?
I've always had this question on my mind, but never found a definite answer for it. So Bihar was the birthplace of many Tirthankars, but Jain culture is not as prevalent now and now I see there's a lot of violence I see there. So why is that?
Okay. Have you ever been to Kshatriya Kund or the places where Tirthankar Mahavir was born?
No.
No, because you see, you are talking about the Bihar, a large Bihar. You are not talking about those particular places where you go as Pavapuri or you go to the Kshatriya Kund or you go to Rajgir. Go to Rajgir. Now see, I'll tell you very important. Most of the Indian religions believed that sadhana can be done only in a place which is secluded, which is away from the people where people are residing. We were having sadhanas in caves, so we have Gufa mandirs. We were having sadhanas on the mountains. We have got Samad Sekharji, we have got Palitana, we have got Girnar. Most of our religious places are on the mountains. Why? It was very difficult. How can you create so many temples onto a mountains so many years back, where there were no cranes, there was no vehicles, but still we created, because all our monks believed that sadhana can be done only in a place. Even our ancient rishis went to Himalayas. Why they went to Himalayas? Because that's a secluded place. The place has to be secluded. The place has to be away from the residents. Now today what has happened? All those places are flooded with residences. All the places are flooded with the factories. All the places are flooded with so many other things. And that's why the purity of those places has not remained. It's a fact.
Okay. Well, I think that is the last question from a panelist. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to actually call Dilip Kaka, who would like to say some words. Dilip Kaka, you are on.
Yeah. Bipin Bhai, excellent lectures and, questions and answers. I think all the panelists, fantastic job, beyond imagination. At some point I thought, what are these kids are going to do? I always underestimate, the ability.
We always underestimate them.
Yes. And more so, Amita, it's beautiful way of conducting this panel, so that actually goes to show that, your teaching profession, has really helped. Fantastic show. I just want to say a few things, for all our members. This is an effort. Jain Study Group is making a very, very big effort. Our plan is to bring all level of people who understand Jainism or like to follow Jainism. And we have, people from very, very moderate upbringing to, very conservative upbringing. So we a group of people who are put together, and there are days, where people, really argue with each other. There is no point arguing with each other. It is important to understand that those who are at the borderline interested in Jainism, don't turn them away. It will be a sin for all of us to turn them away. All that we need to do is to attract them, make our religion or our belief or our way of living, attractive and very practical. And Bipin Bhai, I just want to say that there is nobody as practical as you are. So I'm so happy that you have done this for us. And I'm so happy for last 7 weeks, non-stop, every Sunday. I wouldn't say you have entertained us, but you really educated us. I'm very, very grateful on behalf of the Jain Study Group. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. And we will say bye to each other.
1 minute I would take Dilip Bhai. First of all, in my 7 days of Swadhyay, I wouldn't use the word knowledge sharing. It was, if anything, which has gone against Jinvani, Michami Dukla. Lastly, Dilip Bhai, you have been great to do this particular work, and I'm very fortunate that you chose me to deliver 7 consecutive lectures. I enjoyed it actually. And as far as today is concerned, Amita Ben, you have done wonderful job, straightforward, very simple, and without wasting any time, we learned a lot. And at the same time, my young guys, as Ashna, Titiksha, Vidhi, Jalak, Aryan, Yukti, Jehan, Divira. I'm so grateful to you because you have also taught me something. Thank you very much. Jai Jinendra to everybody.
Jai Jinendra, and thank you, everybody.